I'm Linda Akibe, and you're welcome to the Gavel. The National Assembly resumed plenary during the week, and the Senate and House of Representatives held their first plenary sessions for 2023. Now, in separate welcome addresses, the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives reiterated the support of the National Assembly for INEC in organizing free, peaceful, transparent elections. The 2023 general election is to begin on February 25th, and some federal lawmakers who won party tickets will be contesting to return to the National Assembly. Now, the Senate and the House of Representatives intend to suspend plenary sometime next week for political campaigns ahead of the elections.
Federal legislators exchange pleasantries as they welcome each other to the first plenary session in 2023. The Senate President Ahmed Lawan welcomes his colleagues, reminding them of some urgent matters which require prompt legislative action, such as President Muhammadu Buhari's request for the National Assembly to restructure the 23.7 trillion naira Ways and Means advances. President Buhari's request has raised eyebrows among lawmakers and financial analysts who are worried about the legality of the request and Nigeria's debt stock intensified by this particular loan.
Between now and the next week, when we hope to close, we have some other things to attend to. But this Ways and Means, I think, stands out.
However, the committee, which was set up to interface with the finance minister and the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to get more details of the request, has not made much progress.
We came up about 6 questions for the Minister of Finance, because there are 2 of them. The Minister of Finance and also the governor of Central Bank. But unfortunately, we were not able to get the information that we are looking for. Why? Because the 2 of them were out of town.
Displeased by the majority leader's submission, the Senate President issues a warning to the CBN governor and finance minister.
The National Assembly or the Senate is prepared to consider the request, but we must have the necessary information. So it's for the executive arm of government to expedite action, and I imagine that this is not supposed to be a difficult thing to do.
In the House of Representatives, members are excited to see each other after the holidays. The Speaker presides over the first plenary of the year. He welcomes his colleagues and reminds them to be of good conduct ahead of the elections.
There has been a marked increase in incidents of insecurity and vicious attacks on political actors in parts of the country. We must unite to ensure this dangerous trend does not lead to circumstances that threaten the forthcoming elections. The quality of the political conversations in society, particularly in the lead-up to elections, is a determining factor in the electoral outcomes and the quality of governance that will result therefrom.
A motion on the need for the federal government to intensify efforts in curbing the incessant kidnappings in Nigeria is taken and adopted.
The House resolved to condemn in strong terms the kidnapping and disappearance of Mr. Enobon Williamson and other incidences of kidnapping across the country. Mandate the Inspector General of Police and other security agencies to intensify efforts in securing the release of Mr. Enobon Williamson from the den of kidnappers.
Next, a consolidated bill to amend the NYSC Act is presented for second reading, but rejected by the House.
The amendment is bringing in people that school outside the country, and if they are schooling, maybe you can go do first degree, do second degree, and even do doctorate. Before coming back, they will have crossed the age of service. And when they come, issuance of certificate of exemption should be made flexible. Those who are schooling within here might have wished to go outside the country. They have now been situated and then put to this kind of whatever situation to school here should not be used as a disadvantage against any of our citizens.
Honorable Igbakba is compelled to step down the bill for further consultation, just as lawmakers express optimism that some other portions of the bill to improve the welfare of core members would be considered when the bill is reintroduced in the near future.
We'll continue examining President Buhari's request to the National Assembly to approve the restructuring of 23.7 trillion naira Ways and Means advances given to the federal government by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, President Buhari wrote to the National Assembly to approve this request in December last year. The Ways and Means are advances from the CBN to the federal government for emergency funding of delayed receipt of fiscal deficits. But this request has been met with disapproval from the Senate and some financial analysts. There was disquiet on the day the Senate debated the matter on the floor in December last year, as some legislators were of the opinion that the request is unconstitutional as the spending was not authorized by the National Assembly. Now, next week, Tuesday, that's January 24th, the upper chamber is expected to debate or discuss the report from its ad hoc committee set up to handle the matter. We had a chat with the Director, Center for Social Justice, Mr. Eze Onyekpere, on the Ways and Means advances.
When this money started accumulating, some of us have started raising the issues that, look, this is wrong, that it is at variance with what is stated in the law. Now, the dilemma is that if you don't securitize this and convert it to a long-term bond, you have the challenge of making provisions on a yearly basis and at a higher cost to service the debt. Unlike when you convert it to a 40-year bond, as I'm talking about, you could possibly get an interest rate that is less than what you should have paid if you are simply making provisions for it in the budget. So now the law has been violated, and the money has accumulated to such a humongous extent that we are now caught between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Who should be held responsible for this problem?
A lot of people, authorities and institutions are responsible. Number one, the CBN is given autonomy and independence in its enabling law of 2007. So the CBN board and the governor were in a position to tell Mr. President or whoever was asking them to get the money, sorry, sir, this is in violation of your law, of the land. So having given you so much last year and you didn't repay and it has accumulated, the law says we've lost the power to give you any further advance. We cannot do that. That's the first layer of obligation. The second is that the finance minister who was making these requests, okay, where do we source money to cover the deficit? Even if it's for a short while, and you say, okay, let's go to the central bank. The finance minister knows the law and what it provides. So she's also culpable. The third person is Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief. Everybody reports to him. The minister is his agent. He can ask the minister to go and appoint another. He is also responsible and culpable for the violations. Moreover, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who is the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, the legal advisor of the government, where was he when all these very great violations of the law were ongoing?
Now, how do you think the National Assembly should react to this request by the President? We know that its ad hoc committee are putting together a report which is really expected to present to the Senate next Tuesday. So how should they respond to this issue?
When you are a participant, an active one, or an accessory after the fact of a violation of a law, and you are now the one to take a decision, I would rather put it back. How do you react? They should all acknowledge, first of all, list all the parties who were culpable. Apologize to Nigerians, first of all, that they failed in the discharge of their duties, despite collecting humongous allowances and salaries, including the ones that were not approved by RAMFAC. So after acknowledging their failure and apologizing profusely, they should now chart a pragmatic path, the path of least pain, the path that will cost the Treasury the least, because the law has been violated and there's nothing anybody can do. I hope you understand what I'm saying. We've already violated the law, so what paths should we take that will cost the Treasury, that wouldn't cost us so much money? That is the honorable thing to do in the circumstances. So I'm no longer talking of laws and policies. They've been violated, and you cannot rewind the violations. So what we are now saying, if we go A, it will cost us 2.5 trillion a year. If we go B, it will cost us 1 or 1.5. We have an elbow room because we don't have enough money to take care of health, education, water, and all those things. Fight insurgency. So which one will be easier for us to manage over the short, medium, and long term? That's the way to go. Nobody should start behaving sanctimoniously.
The DMO has come out with its projection of the debt stock for what the debt stock will be as at May this year. That's 77 trillion naira. What do you think about this?
Each time you say, put a stop, why do we continue borrowing as if to say we are on automatism to borrow, on a borrowing bridge? She and the finance minister have been the one who are telling us debt to GDP. We told them you don't use GDP, particularly the debt components of the GDP, to service debts or to pay back the debt. Now what you need is your revenue. They said, no, we have a revenue problem. Oh, the GDP X, GDP Y. So is she just waking up from slumber? So what she's doing is insulting. She should apologize to Nigerians, because now we had all along maintained that the ways and means should be added to the debt because it is an obligation which you must pay back. So why are you separating them? Now she's added them up, and it has come to the same figure which I will show you from our last report. We said it's not going to be less than 70 trillion.
So what are the solutions to this problem? How does the country come out of this quagmire?
The first step is to vote out those who took us here, because if we allow them, we are going to sink deeper. That's the first point. And then whoever takes over come June 2023 will sit down and restructure these debts. Those of them that are due, that is insisting that we will pay 6-7 trillion a year, you find a way to restructure them so that the debt obligation over a longer maturity period, so that the debt obligation may be between 2 and 3, so that we have an elbow room. And then we now regularize the conditions and terms of borrowing. The law says you can only borrow for capital expenditure or human development. All right? That's the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So the expectation is that you don't borrow nicodemously between people who are conspiring against the nation, just like the president and the leadership of the Senate. Now, once you prepare that CBA, you now send a notice, because this is public money. You announce it in the media, publish it in the Gazette and in the newspapers, like the banns of a Catholic marriage. Know ye all Nigerians that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, is intending to borrow money for ABC. Find attached on this website or portal or platform, or go to this ministry and get a hard copy of the CBA, cost-benefit analysis. Anybody who has any reason as to why this loan should not be procured should present such evidence to the National Assembly, who is approving authority, or forever remain silent. And the National Assembly will be mandated in its report of either approving or disapproving to show how they came to their conclusion against the background of the memoranda.
The 10th Assembly will be coming on board later on in the year. How should the 10th Assembly handle this problem of the rising debt stock of the country?
Debt procurement should not be done nicodemously again, which has been the current practice. It should be in the public domain. Everybody should have the opportunity to talk. And I will say there should be a moratorium on new borrowing. For now, we are no longer borrowing. Let's look inwards. When the song changes, the dancer is expected to change his dance step because the music is not the same. The beat is not the same. What has happened since 2015 is that the beats changed, the song changed, but the dancers continued dancing to the old tunes. So we are supposed to cut down on the cost of governance. We were supposed to cut down on waste. Rather, we kept on borrowing and insisted on spending them on frivolities. Is it not the same things we are complaining? Every year, the State House will take, last year, this current, in 2022, they took 5.17 billion naira for servicing electrical appliances and electrical installations. 2023 budget now is 7.something billion. What manner of electrical appliances are in the villa? 7 billion will construct a brand new house, a brand new villa. Cut down the waste. That's the way to go. Cut down the waste. They must understand that it is no longer business as usual, unless they're waiting for the day when the creditors say, close the door totally and say, we are no longer giving you new money.
You're welcome back to the Gavel. Let's take a look at more happenings in the House of Representatives during the week.
In their numbers, the people of Akwa Ibom State received a member representing Okanafon Orokunam Federal Constituency, Honorable Uyime Idem. They are gathered to commission a road project. The Deputy Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Moses Ekbo, decries what he describes as lack of attention to infrastructure from the federal government.
There is no federal presence in Akwa Ibom. There is none. People like this bring federal presence. But they're from his own pocket, they're from your own pocket. So my advice to people who want to come to Akwa Ibom is start now to show federal presence, so that they're doing so. We may.
Honorable Idem, on his part, seizes the opportunity to advise the federal government to increase funding for infrastructure.
I have traveled around this country. I've seen that one of the teething problems that we have is the problem of bad roads. And I know that these bad roads affect our economy. You cannot move goods and services from one location to the other when you don't have a smooth road network. So that's why I decided to use the platform today to call on the federal government to ensure that 2024, that is by this year end, you are going to receive budgets for 2024. I want them to increase budgets for the Federal Ministry of Works so that they can donate, so that they can provide more road infrastructure.
The 2023 general elections are to begin on February 25th. An electoral umpire, INEC, has been meeting with heads of security agencies, political parties, different interest groups, all in a bid to ensure that the elections are peaceful and transparent. But Nigerians are concerned about the burning of INEC offices, mostly in the eastern part of the country. There are calls for security agencies to offer better protection for INEC offices and personnel and prosecute those responsible for the destruction. Now, this was re-echoed by a federal lawmaker in the House of Representatives, Honorable Dachum Bagos, who we spoke to about the security incidents in Plateau State and the likely impact on the 2023 general elections.
We have been, as a people and collectively with government and even the citizenry, we have been able to address most of these issues, because now everybody is a local government of his own. You provide your own security, you provide your own water, you provide your own everything. So we have looked at it and ensure that we bring our heads together with the security agencies across board, be it community police, be it the main security platforms with the apparatus they have in the state, STF, and so on and so forth, to be able to address the issue of insecurity. And vigilante have been so vigilant to blow the whistle of any unwarranted movement through, again, the community police, and for the main security apparatus to be able to address the issues.
The insecurity in Plateau State, has it been caused by, farmers' herders clashes or inter-ethnic rivalry and clashes? What has been, the problem?
You see, those coronations, they have never been anything like ethnic clash or farmer herders clash or anything. Most of the people that have been killed, if not all, within my constituency and the state, are people that are sleeping in their houses. Someone will come and kill them, or run away, not arrested, not traced, and tomorrow it will be farmers, herders clash. So I always ask the question, if it is a clash, you will get casualty from the two people that have clashed. But here is only our people that are always at the receiving end. that they will be sleeping. I don't know how someone that will be sleeping and will be clashing. I will be sleeping. It's either the entire house is burnt with them inside, or they'll be sleeping and they'll be macheted in while they are sleeping, or shot while they are sleeping, and they hear gunshots trying to rush out of their house. Already they have ambushed their houses and shot while they were running out. So if it is a clash, I will know where the enemy is coming from for me to retaliate and defend myself.
How has the state governor been responsive to this problem of insecurity in the state in terms of finding solutions, collaborating with security agencies? What has been his response, or the response of the state administration?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm not part of the government there, but whatsoever level he has tried to see that he addressed the issue of peace in the state. For me, his policies have not always worked for us. His policies have always been our own people anti-policy, because if it were a policy that will work for us, the major policy that will work for us is that our people should go back to their villages. Our people should go back to their land. That's the kind of policy we want. We don't want a policy that you will come after you have beaten us and we are crying, and you now come and tell us that, okay, keep quiet, but you can't go back to that place. That's not the kind of policy. Or keep quiet, so just still allocate more land for these people to be able to accommodate again, and so that you live in peace. That's not a policy. That's not the kind of policy we want. We want a policy that will give us justice.
Earlier, you mentioned community policing as one of those themes that has brought about some level of peace in Plateau State in recent times. And so it is quite curious that community policing, state policing, was not included in this phase of the amendment of the 1999 Constitution by the 9th Assembly. Why is this so?
Well, I will say that it's unfortunate because most of us stood for the community policing, and every politician has how he reads the understanding of reason of having some institutions. But to us, we believe that the state police will give the governor the sole responsibility of truly being the chief security officer of that state. The state police doesn't mean that the federal police will no longer be in existence. And again, this is a form of policing that is practicable and is working in other developed countries. And with our diversity, how did the state police come into being? If you look at the history of some of these state police, it's as a result of what is happening to us now. So as a result of the diversity, what is happening in Ekiti, the way and the strategy you will use to address insecurity in Ekiti or Kogi is not the same that you will use to address the issue of insecurity on the plateau. But if it's our own people that are mounting the security architect within the local level and within the state level, we believe that we will know who is who. I'll give the example with the Southwest Community Policing, Amotekun. Since Amotekun came into being, the issue of killings in the Southwest, you no longer hear about it. You no longer. So meaning, if every region and if every state take responsibility of policing itself constitutionally, with that law that, look, this is what everywhere we're peaceful, government knows the answer.
But I think the question many have asked is, we did not see the agitation for state police by even opposition lawmakers like yourself and your party, the PDP. We didn't see calls for state police at any level.
What the majority wants, they have their way, but what the minority wants, they have their say. And We from the minority part of it, we have said it, that this is what, but we believe that the majority in the near future will understand with what is happening for them to key into allowing everybody have the state police through constitutional amendment. And you know that for every clause to be amended in the Constitution, you must get 2/3.
Now, this is where we call it today on this week's edition of The Gavel. If you have any views on any of the issues discussed, please email us on thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for staying with us and see you again next week.